Mr. Makhija, thank you so much for talking to PTI, India's largest news agency. The Democratic Vice Presidential nominee, Mr. Tim Walsh, just visited this Bharatiya temple and celebrated Diwali with the Indian community. What is the significance of his visit here and interaction just 5 days ahead of the mega race for the White House?
Yes. So I think it's very significant that Governor Walz, the potential next Vice President of the United States, came here to the Bharatiya Temple in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. This county is home to one of the largest Indian American populations in the country, and certainly in Pennsylvania. We have over 100,000 Indian Americans that are in Pennsylvania, and it's a very important state. And by showing up, celebrating Diwali with us, he's showing that he cares about the community, he wants to listen to the community, and he wants to represent everyone. And at a time in which politics sometimes becomes anti-immigrant, or there's rhetoric around excluding people or keeping them out of the country, I think he showed us today that he cares about every community, and he cares about the Indian American community as well.
You have been one of the most inspirational young leaders from the Indian community in this very crucial battleground state of Pennsylvania. So what are the main issues for the Indian community when they go out for vote?
So I think Indian American community is very practical. We believe in the American dream. We want to see our children work hard, to have opportunity, to get a good education, and to be able to contribute to the larger society as a whole. And I think candidates who care about those basic American principles, recognizing that no matter who you are, where you're from, you should be able to have opportunity. If you work hard, you should be able to get a great education. All of those things are important to the Indian American community. I think Governor Walz showed that he cares about that.
This is a momentum occasion for the Indian American community, as one of their own, Kamala Harris, he is running for the top office on the planet, actually. So the community is really pumped up, very enthusiastic. And overall, the race has been very, very tight. In fact, it's a rather tight race, according to opinion polls. So how do you see the overall contest, and what is your prediction?
Pennsylvania is always very close, and I think this is all the more important that the Indian American community get engaged and turn out to vote, because this election could be decided by a very narrow margin, and so we need everyone to participate. So if you know anyone in Pennsylvania and you're watching this, please tell them, turn out to vote. And I think having Kamala Devi Harris as President of the United States will be tremendously important thing, not just for our community, for women, for African Americans, for all of the people who have never seen themselves have a seat at the table. We'll have a president who really cares about everyone and who wants to do the best for the American people and is not just thinking about herself.
So do you think, in fact, on November 5th, history will be made in U.S. as Kamala Harris may become the first woman president of this great democracy?
I think we will be able to celebrate. The results may not happen immediately. It takes time to count the votes. I know that. But I see the excitement on the ground, and I'm very excited to see Madam President elected and to make history in 2024. I didn't think that this would happen in this early part of my lifetime. I've known her since she was district attorney. I've seen her serve as a U.S. senator, and it's just such an honor to be able to be here and to participate and to be part of making history.
The election campaigning has been very, very bitter, actually. The Republican presidential candidate, Mr. Donald Trump, has made a lot of allegations against Kamala Harris. Yesterday in Winkinchan, he said, "Kamala, you are fired." Kind of language that has been seen in this election. How do you see it, actually?
So Donald Trump lost the last election. He was fired by 80 million people in the United States who voted against him and said they wanted him out of office. And he still doesn't admit that that happened. In fact, he tried to overturn the election. He incited a violent mob to try to prevent the transfer of power in 2021. And he's very dangerous. And I think it's concerning to think that he could even be close to being back into power because he could be even more dangerous the second time. So I do think, however, the American people realize that he doesn't tell the truth. He's not someone they would trust with their own children. And with that, I would anticipate that many, many people are going to come out and vote for Kamala Harris.
Mr. Makhija, how do you see the overall trajectory of India-US relations? We have seen in the last 10-15 years, the partnership has grown manifold, especially in areas of defense and security, critical technologies. We have been cooperating very closely in the Indo-Pacific. So how do you see the overall India-US partnership going forward?
Yeah. So the India-US relationship is perhaps the most important global relationship for the future. And when you think about the competition that the United States has been in with China, when you think about the actions that Russia is taking at odds with the United States' interests and those of our allies, India is really the most important country for the U.S. to continue to build a relationship with in terms of its sheer size, the economic activity, but also the commonality that we are the two democracies, the largest and the oldest democracies in the world. And it's very important that the next president understand that when it comes to global priorities like our defense, but also tackling global issues like climate change, the U.S. and India can lead the way if they work together. So we need a president who recognizes that, and I think Kamala Harris is that person.
So there are one or two issues that have been kind of irritants in the India-US relations. One issue has been the H1B Visa. The Indian community and people back home also, I mean, they have been pressing for increasing the cap on H1B.
Yes.
That they say would enhance the overall people-to-people contact as well as flow of Indian talents into U.S.
Yes.
How do you see this?
So look, Kamala Harris was the sponsor of a bill to fix that issue with the H1B backlog when she was a U.S. Senator. The problem is that Republicans did not support it, and they used to say that they were in favor of legal immigration, but now it's clear that they don't want any immigration, and they don't support immigration reform. They don't support any of the bills that would give people who live here, work here, pay taxes, a real pathway to citizenship. And so I think it's very important that Americans elect Kamala Harris because we have a long tradition of immigration in this country, whether it was Irish and Italian immigration to parts of Pennsylvania where I grew up, where people worked in coal and steel and critical industries, or more recent immigrants like Asian Americans, South Asians, Indian Americans, who are performing essential functions in our society in all sectors and industries. We have to be able to continue to draw on the world's talent if we're going to continue to innovate and to compete in the world in the way that America has for so many years. So Kamala Harris is a president who could recognize that and foster and live up to that tradition that is so rich in American history, that we draw on the world's talent so that we can succeed collectively.
I mean, the contribution of the Indian community is widely appreciated in the U.S. Do you think if Kamala Harris wins the race, in fact, this space for Indian community in the political discourse of the U.S. will significantly enhance?
I think absolutely. People are already talking about the Indian American community in a way that they never had. They're recognizing the Indian American community in the way that they never have before. And that is the importance of representation, is that once you have someone who has led, who has been the first, people start to notice the whole community and everything that they are contributing. And that's important so that we have a true democracy where everyone, no matter who they are, where they're from, can fully participate, and every community has a voice, every person has a voice.
Last question, in fact, what is the significance of this election for the U.S.?
So the U.S. is at a crossroads where, on the one hand, we have a candidate who is protecting democracy and fundamental freedoms and all of the things that we discussed that have made our country succeed in the past. And then we have a candidate who really represents the past and who wants to turn back the clock to a time before anyone from our community was really here in the United States, who wants to turn back the clock on fundamental rights. You've seen his Supreme Court take away women's rights. You've seen them attack voting rights. And Their belief is that the country is supposed to be a specific demographic, religion, and we think America is an idea. We think America is the idea that anyone can succeed no matter who you are. So this is the decision that we're making, is do we have a country that is pluralistic, that is welcoming, that is inclusive, or do we think it should be exclusive and really meant to only serve a particular demographic? And I think Kamala Harris represents the future that is more inclusive, that will be welcoming and lives up to the ideals that our country truly was founded on.
Let's ask one more question.
Okay.
Donald Trump's policy on immigration is triggering actually apprehensions among various communities, various migrant communities, including Indians. So he has promised to carry out the biggest deportation program in the US if he is elected to the White House. So how do you see it? In fact, what are the apprehensions? Can you just elaborate?
Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. He is engaging in the same kind of behavior we've seen in some of the darkest moments in world history, where leaders have scapegoated those individuals and communities that don't even have the right to vote. And you can see that he's blaming all of the country's problems on immigrants, and it's not real, it's not realistic, it's simply engaged to inflame tensions and to drive divisions between people who live here in the United States. And unfortunately, history does repeat itself, and hopefully the people of our country recognize what happened in the past and that we avoid that similar fate in the future.
Many thanks.
Thank you very much.